What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk podcast here on the NBC Sports Boston podcast network. They kicked us out of the studio, Abby, because there are other shows that need to be filmed. But we're coming to you fresh off the Celtics loss in Milwaukee, where despite missing 3 starters, they gave a valiant effort and nearly upended Giannis and the Bucks. But I'm going to put it on you. So there's still a million scenarios at play, but we think the Boston Celtics are most likely to end up at the number 3 seed. I jokingly said it's like 73%.
I was going to say that was my favorite moment of post-game tonight. Chris Forsberg, as we go through all of the scenarios, and we had Kendrick Perkins on, and Perks said his head was spinning. And Chris said, bottom line is Celtics have a 73% chance of getting that 3 seed, which is all you need to know. And we went to break. And going to break, Perks said, where did that number come from? And Chris said, don't ask how the sausage is made. And as soon as we go to break, Chris is like, I just made that up.
So
it sounds right, though. It sounds
really
good.
Does. And you know what? Maybe Basketball References simulations in the morning will back me up. Here's the way I look at it. Like, a lot of things have to happen for the Celtics to have a chance at the number 2 seed, which would mean like Milwaukee essentially going 0-2 over its last 2 games, which I don't really foresee.
No. Unless they sit everyone.
And they have a chance to end up at number 4, but it would require Philadelphia to win both games and for the Celtics to lose on Sunday. And so I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. So ipso facto, 73%, and might even be higher. I don't know, but that's my number, and I'm sticking with it.
That's what you led off this podcast saying. The Celtics lost to Milwaukee, and coming out of that game, it doesn't feel like a loss at all. Number one, you get to see the Celtics depth shine, guys building confidence, a la Derek White, Marcus Smart putting up a season high 29 points, hit 7 3-pointers. And then you look at where they are, that high chance of getting the 3 seed and facing the Chicago Bulls in the first round.
How are you feeling about the 3 seed?
I'm feeling great about the 3 seed. Well, in the first round to play the Chicago Bulls, having no issues. I mean, but the 3 seed also, then you are saying that the Bucks most likely to get that 2 seed. They will likely face the Nets coming out of the play-in. And regardless of who comes out on top of that series, it's going to be a hard fought series, and it's going to take a lot out of whoever that team is, which is part of the reason why I would like to avoid that situation in the first round. So it could either be a tune-up for Giannis and the Bucks and the defending champs, or it could be something that, gets very physical. Maybe some injuries happen. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen. It's the NBA.
It's so funny because Celtics fans right now are like, we just don't want to see the Bucks.
I don't want to jinx anything. I'm sorry. I'm knocking on wood.
Don't want to see Kyrie. Don't want to see Kevin Durant. Don't want to have the other team to have the best player on the court. And even though I think the Celtics win that series, I'm with you. It's definitely like the best of the bad teams, and it would add taxing to a first round that shouldn't be that difficult. And then now Celtics fans, if it's Bucks versus Nets, Celtics fans are going to be like, come on, Nets, push them to 7,
yes.
and all that. So it is pretty funny that, our emotions will swing pretty quickly when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets and how they play.
The downside here is that if the Milwaukee Bucks do get that 2 seed, the Celtics have then lost out of home court advantage in that second round when you do have to play the Bucks. And it got pretty loud in Milwaukee tonight.
And I think back, not that I never feel like Milwaukee is an impossibly hard place to play, but it does get loud there, and their fans are rowdy, and now they've won. So it's like a
Milwaukee,
big deal.
What else are they really doing besides drinking beer before the game?
Not the worst thing to do, but I get your point. It's that's all the fans have to do. And the other thing, and then they have Giannis. And so my big thing has always been role players play better at home than on the road. It's just one of those weird things where the Peyton Pritchards and Derek Whites and Grant Williams of the world tend to play better at home than on the road. Just there's something to the idea of when you're not on that superstar level, you just play better because there's crowd support and all that. So I am a little bit leery of those guys having to go on the road and be big parts of this thing. That being said, a night like this gives you confidence when you see Peyton Pritchard go out and not be overwhelmed by playing in the moment. And Derek White did miss a late game bunny, but otherwise I thought played really well. Got some 3-pointers to fall. So I'm a little bit more bullish on the idea of this group going to Milwaukee and being able to have success. I wanted to avoid the Bucks as long as humanly possible. And there's part of me that does say, like, you don't want to bring Toronto into play as the 4 seed because then they're the 4-5, but then you play the 1 seed and you'd avoid Milwaukee. The bottom line here is you have to play good teams at some point.
Yep.
So just buckle up. And, if you get through that round, now you're looking at maybe Miami, maybe there's an upset along the way. So maybe it's not as bad as it seems.
And there is something to this game tonight, while it is a loss, like I said, it feels like a win to see the Celtics, the way that they walked into Milwaukee facing Giannis Antetokounmpo and the defending champs. They had confidence, they had swagger, even though they were without Jason Tatum and Al Horford, and they came through and made it a good game. I also will say this run that we have seen from the Celtics since late January, they have been road warriors. The road has not been an issue for them. They've won games on the road. They've won games convincingly on the road. And that is something that Ime Udoka has stressed from the beginning of this season, is that it doesn't matter where you play this team, they are going to play to the standard that they have set for themselves. And as of right now, that standard and that Celtics basketball that we have seen is championship caliber basketball.
And who would have thought that back on January 7th when they were 3 games under 500? And I think the other positive is that the two of the road losses they've had lately, Toronto and in Milwaukee, were shorthanded. And they played
very shorthanded,
really inspired basketball. So my biggest fear going into the playoffs is like, oh no Rob. The starters haven't been great without all of them. Like, how is this going to play out?
You do also get Rob back potentially in the second round, if you kind of cruise through that first round, because I think we saw
maybe even the first round if you hit some turbulence at the end, but that might be getting a little ahead of ourselves.
I know. We are. We're
well, hopefully
we're knocking on wood again. I got this.
We do have a large table in this conference room to knock on. All right. Because I don't want to go through all bazillion scenarios, let's just suffice it to say we've laid it out. Like, the Celtics are most likely going to be the 3. What gives you the most confidence right now as we prepare for the final game of the regular season that the Celtics can have postseason success?
The defense, and seeing how they have been able to adjust even without Rob Williams, having Daniel Tice. What a move at the deadline. Heard about it tonight. Underrated, bringing Daniel Tice back. The war on Tice never ends, but he comes through and he has that playoff experience as we've seen firsthand. So you said it tonight on post game that this offense, the fact that the Celtics have the number 1 offense in the NBA, that it has caught up with the defense. I think there's no question in my mind that we have seen them flip a switch, turn up that defensive intensity, and that is something that will travel in the postseason.
And I guess, just because I would probably duplicate your answer if I had to. I feel a lot more confident in the defense when Rob is out there, but certainly the last few weeks have given you confidence that they can suffice. And Tice has been way better than I thought he would be.
Really?
Yeah, because I am just scarred.
Doubt Daniel Tice.
It's not on Daniel Tice. It's a PTSD from Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson double big lineups. That word god awful and terrible. And that's on Tristan Thompson and not Daniel Tice, which is, unfortunately he's just, part of the equation there. But I think I told you, like, Al and Tice only played 23 minutes together in the 2000.
My mind.
It's incredible. And it's so funny because Al got a little prickly. You got asked, like, how's it going adjusting with Daniel Tice? And he's like, dude, we were teammates 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And it's like, yeah, you were, but you never played together because Tice tore his own meniscus, I think, that year and didn't play in the playoffs that year that Rozier and the young Jays led the playoff surge. So I was a little bit leery, like, how will he fit in? And it's still humorous when they throw up lobs and Tice is like trying to get up there and can't quite get nowhere near as high as Rob.
Yeah, that's a tough adjustment.
but you just get used to one thing and now. But I do think in the grand scheme of things, I have confidence that group can play to a good level of defense in the postseason. I guess I would flip it and say the offense is what's giving me the most encouragement. Is like, for months and months I said they're just not good enough. They're not efficient enough to be a good playoff team, and that I worry they would struggle to score points in the playoffs when every basket gets more difficult. Now they have to be a little bit more crisp with the ball, not many turnovers like we saw throughout this Milwaukee game. They need to keep shooting it well, but if they move the ball the way they have, and the ball movement has been awesome.
Routinely averaging 28, 29, 30 assists per game.
We kept saying if they get to 25 assists, they're going to win most nights. And now it's like 25 in the third quarter. And that blows my mind that they've been that good. And like Marcus Smart has been awesome. So my hope is, like, if they maintain that level of offense, then you don't need the defense to be like otherworldly until Rob comes back. And then you're going to probably need it to be otherworldly. Because as we saw, Giannis was just feasting at times, going at Tice and Grant Williams, and that's not fair to them because they're not usually the guys they're going to have to defend that. Maybe for small pockets in a second round series, but if Al and Rob are out there, it's completely different, and I don't think you see quite the fireworks that we saw tonight. What's your biggest? I'm gonna flip it. I don't mean to be negative. This isn't early edition, but what's your biggest cause for concern going into the playoffs?
Perk talked about it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
all night.
Perk in general. I was like, that's unfair, but.
I think Perk, I'm going to give credit to Perk for inspiring this second half surge from Jason Tatum. No, what gives me pause is just that the East is a minefield. That's what Perk was talking about all post game, just how tough the Eastern Conference has become, the level of superstars, just purely the number of superstars that are in this conference. And you mentioned it with Giannis. I mean, the hope in a playoff series is you want to have the best player on the floor. And I can't name that many matchups for the Celtics once you get out of the first round and past the Chicago Bulls.
And even in the first round, if they had drawn the Nets, you would have said KD is the best player on the court. So
absolutely. If they do draw the Nets, that's not done yet.
Yeah.
So, right. I that's what gives me pause is that the East is tough, but that's what gives me confidence from tonight is that the Celtics team is not afraid of anyone. Everyone's so mad, so angry around here that they sat Jason Tatum and Al Horford for this huge game tonight against the Bucks. And I think what it told me tonight is they're not afraid of anyone. They can go out there and battle without their stars.
I don't disagree. I'm just now eager. I just want to hit a fast forward button and get to the playoffs because
we've got days. This play-in tournament.
It's gonna be forever.
A week from Saturday is the start of the playoffs.
It is crazy that we're gonna have to navigate. 10 days, 11 days here. As Ime said tonight, part of the reason that you probably going to play your starters on Sunday is because with the week to ramp.
You don't want to give them a week and a half off.
Yeah, you don't want to give them
without live reps.
Almost 2 weeks without if they didn't play. If Jason Tatum didn't play tonight and he doesn't play Sunday, he would not play an NBA basketball game. And he's been so good.
And he loves to play.
Yeah.
And that's what so many people questioning that decision tonight. To me, Jason Tatum loves to play. I remember his rookie season, they basically forced him, had to tie him to the bench to sit out the final game of the season because he had it in his mind that he wanted to play all 82. And so I think that it is the smart play, as Ime has said, they are prioritizing health. And we know the number of minutes that Jason has been out there on the floor this season. So give him a night off. I'm fine with it.
How you feeling? You ready for playoff grind?
Oh yeah.
You're going to Memphis?
I'm ready. I'm a little behind the scenes. I'm getting over COVID. So I am ready to go. No masks for me.
Yeah.
Wherever this playoff run takes me, I will be there and I will be ready.
Yeah, I'm ready too. And I just want to hit a fast forward button, although it's been great having you in studio because you get to hang out and have fun and we laugh throughout the post-game plus. And
we get to call out Perk.
Yeah, that's the best part is trying to, Perk spits some wild takes going
Carry on.
And then,
Carry on. No.
And then he can just walk it back. I want to end here.
Okay.
One of the Perk's wild takes tonight was that he put Jason Tatum on the All NBA second team. And I thought we could expect more from him. Although Perk did try to redeem himself by putting Jaylen Brown on All NBA third team, which is a little bit of an outrageous move, but only because there's so much talent, as you said, throughout the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. And so I was just surprised the two Celtics would be able to be crowbarred on there. But I want to focus on Tatum because the voters got to vote by Sunday or Monday. I think he deserves.
Perk does have a vote, by the way, which is why this is important.
Filed. They give votes to everybody, and yet my mailbox is still empty. So should Jason Tatum be All NBA first team?
Absolutely. I think so. He has earned it. So the question then is, who do you take off? And to me, the argument is Luka. I would say, right. He came into this season out of shape, had to play his way into shape. And I know Luka, so clutch, and what he does for that Dallas team is huge, but we have seen the surge and the difference that Jason Tatum has made on this Celtics team to put them into contention, the number one defense in the league, the number one offense in the league since January. And Luka has only played 61 games, which I know 2/3 of the season may be enough, but you look at Jason Tatum's resume, I vote Jason over Luka. Call me a green teamer, but that's where I stand.
The best ability is availability.
Absolutely.
And especially for the Boston Celtics, who have never had guys who have been available on consistently. So
who do you take off?
I take Booker off. And I know that sounds unfair because the Phoenix Suns certainly deserve someone after winning 63 games or whatever they're at right now. My thing is the Western Conference is full of teams. Like the Utah Jazz don't have a superstar. Rudy Gobert is very good. Donovan Mitchell is very good, but they win because they have a collection of good players.
They're not winning right now.
Well, and that's the other thing. the Phoenix Suns are a great team. Like
Yes.
you would, maybe you could state a case for CP3 on third team, second team, whatever you want to put them. Booker, I think, is a second teamer for sure. But like as an individual who dominates and carries their team, that to me is Jason Tatum. When it's reflected in the net rating when Jason Tatum is on the floor is better than every other all NBA guy out there right now. Giannis has a better differential because the Bucks fall off more when he's off the court. But other than that, and we were talking like MVPs like Jokic and Embiid and everybody, Jason Tatum, I think plus 12 and a half, plus might even be up
He's been
now.
at the top of the league all season long.
All season long. And like, really, he's been at the top of the Celtics for like 3 seasons now. And that's no disrespect to what, like the Celtics have a very good team around Jason Tatum now. Jaylen Brown has been phenomenal. Marcus Smart has been a perfect quarterback, all these things. But for me, like when Jason Tatum leaves the floor, it's just different. And they couldn't sustain without Jason Tatum for a long period of time. And I think it reflects back. He didn't have a great first half of the year. And look what happened, 18 and 21. All of a sudden,
blocked that out. I blocked it.
Then he hits the switch on January 23rd and been phenomenal and put it together pretty much a half season of absolute dominance. And he would be in the top 4 of MVP conversation if he played this way throughout the year. So I don't know. I'm just gonna continue to scream because we see it on a night-to-night basis. Voters don't. And I feel like Jason Tatum deserves it, especially after
somebody's got to. I mean, you got to get it. You got to get the word out there. That's how.
Just like Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
DPOY.
Defensive Player of the Year award.
Might be the offensive player of the year too. After some of these.
You say Perk has some pretty crazy takes. That was a crazy take. Chris Forsberg calling from Marcus Smart to what is it? Is that the scoring title? No, or even close. How do you name the offensive player of the year in the NBA?
I mean, I think you technically call it the MVP because no one ever says like, "Oh, that guy's the MVP because he plays great defense." It's always like.
But there is your argument more so for Jason Tatum as well.
Yeah, two-way player.
True two-way player on that all defense on that all NBA team.
Well, we're in lockstep.
Number 1.
I'm gonna let you get out of here because I got to get Max Lederman in here to badger him about his Sixers and making sure they're going to end up as the 4 seed. Because that's the place the Celtics don't want to go, and the idea of Toronto and all that. So, Abby Chin, thank you so much. Enjoyed Memphis and the playoffs and all that, and please come visit us.
Gotta go get some barbecue, Bojangles. Oh, I'll bring you back a biscuit.
Yes. All right, Max Lederman. I thought we'd have a more definitive picture of where the Celtics stand, but as is everything with this season, nothing can be easy. And so as we sit here, we're still not sure where the Celtics end up, but I need to bring you in with your institutional Philly knowledge and what's going on down there. Are the Celtics, is Philly content to end 4th, or are they going to push hard here at the finish line of the season?
I think they want 3 because they just own the Bulls.
But who doesn't?
It's a good point, but they don't own the Raptors and they don't own the Nets. They're 1-3 versus both those teams. So I think if they had their choice, they would be 2 if they could be assured that they're playing the Cavs, which you can't, or 3.
So it makes me wonder how the team's going to play this out. Like even Milwaukee, if you had to guess, like I think because of the way Milwaukee went tonight and went full throttle, that they would probably be okay with the 2 seed, even though no one really wants to see Brooklyn, if that's the case. If you're Bud and that group, do you push those last 2 games or do you?
Yeah, they do because that's what they did last year, right? I don't even remember the team they were trying to avoid, but like they had a meeting and, they decided, he asked them, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to like play around with seeding here and, try to break the system or
don't tempt the basketball
just go for it? And they went for it and it ended up working out for them. So I doubt that they would change their mentality. They're much better now that Brooks back and they beat the Nets and the Sixers last week, right? And I don't know. I think, when thinking about what the Celtics did, like as long as Ime and the players are on the same page, that to me is what matters. So like that's what Bud did last year. So hopefully all the Celtics, they're in lockstep with each other.
Reading the tea leaves is my belief that maybe there was a conversation a week ago where it was like, hey, here's how we're going to play the last week of the season. We're not going to play Al on the second night of a back-to-back. Maybe that's a perfect night to get Jason some rest. And we just roll the dice with Tatum and Brown and Smart and the rest of the crew. And look what happened up in Toronto and we'll see how it goes. And then you get here and then the magnitude of the game went up a level because of the way the standings have played out. But maybe the Celtics just stuck to their guns. Maybe I'm just trying to come up with an excuse for why they didn't push. But Jason Tatum has played in so many games this year. It's just unique that this would be the spot if you were otherwise unconvinced. I don't think it's a situation where they were like, no, we just don't want to play the Brooklyn Nets. Because if Ime went to his team and was like, hey guys, what do you want to do? And I think it would be in unison, like, hey, let's no foot off the gas at this point. They've been too good. So I hope that's the way. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens. Luckily on Sunday, they'll have the benefit of Milwaukee will be complete. Having played earlier in the day, you'll know going in. The Sixers will be a little bit of a wild card, but is 3 the sweet spot for the Celtics? Like, are we trying to convince ourselves of that now?
No, I would say 4 is obviously the sweet spot because then you avoid having to play Milwaukee. Because I was just talking to Jim, our producer, and I said, the difference between home court and not having home court versus the Bucks, to me, I mean, the Bucks, are you probably still going to pick the Bucks versus the Celtics? And I'm not saying that the Celtics can beat them, especially if Rob is back. That gives them the best chance. But the Bucks are really good. They're the defending champions. So it would be better to be home, but I would just try to avoid them. I'm not worried about the Nets. I'm worried about the Bucks. So look, you're going to have to play them at some point. So if you can play them in the finals, the conference finals, rather than, the second round, that's much better. So 3's fine. 2's good.
4's better.
4 might be better, but 4 would mean that you lost on Sunday. I think it has to mean that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like that, losing 2 in a row going into the end of the season.
Especially with how much momentum they had.
And there's a long delay,
Yeah.
Which I think in basketball doesn't really matter because you want guys to be healthy. And I think that's maybe what the Sixers are hoping, that, James Harden is actually hurt and not just bad at basketball all of a sudden before they give him a $250 million contract this summer. And that the week off can help him, be able to beat switches.
Can the 76ers knock off the Heat?
I don't believe in the Heat at all. The Heat are frauds. Yeah. I mean, the Sixers are
Heat
good.
culture getting slandered here.
I don't like Heat culture at all. I don't like their fans. I don't like most of their players. I respect Spo and Riley, but
they're fans.
Oh yeah.
Have you been to that arena?
No, but they're mean. They're mean on social media.
Oh wow! I did not know the Miami Heat had fans or.
Oh yeah, Miami Heat are legendary for being bad. It's all NBA fan bases are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all sports fan bases are terrible in general, but the Heat fans, they cross the line. I mean, they go after your family. They photoshopped my daughters in Heat jerseys once. I think it was in the bubble.
His worst thing is the Photoshop them in.
It was actually pretty funny. It was actually the most tame thing that they did, but it wasn't one of the cool Vice Night jerseys. And I was like, how dare you?
That is disrespectful.
Right. It was like the
classic
ones. Yeah.
Udonis Haslem jerseys. Like, that's that won't be tolerated.
So no, I think the Sixers could beat the Heat. Again, who knows? And Spo, you give major advantage to having Spo over Doc, who I used to love. But now he's going to go to the Lakers, which is phenomenal, which is like that. Yes. I hope that sounds like something LeBron is pushing for, and whatever he says, just do, guys, just do it. He knows, right, man.
It's unreal.
He got you Westbrook, right?
Frank Vogel, big friend of Brad Stevens. When he first got let go of, his travels in Indiana, and I thought maybe there was a chance he'd end up here, but plus he started here, I think, in the film room. So maybe there's a full circle moment with Frank Vogel down the road, who doesn't deserve to be slandered.
No, he definitely doesn't. And they didn't. It was Pelinka needs to get fired. I read an article today from Complex where the author was like, they got to sell the team. The Buses got to sell the team, which, I mean, there's a lot of facts in there.
Anytime they don't make the playoffs, that's the story. But that's we're not going down. We're not turning this into a Lakers podcast tonight. I'm going to end on the same questions I asked Abby. What gives you the most confidence in the Celtics team as they go into the playoffs?
Man, they're good. That's like really, it's Marcus is playing smart. Their defense is still really good. And their offense, even when they don't have their studs, is scoring. Like, that's the biggest thing. And we are talking about it, but I'm going to say nobody's talking about it because their defense has kind of overshadowed it. But
100%.
like, man, their offense is right up there since their turnaround started, it's, they're top five.
They're number one since the 23rd, and they're like top five since the 7th or whatever.
Yeah. And it's crazy because that was the big issue. And look, I think a lot of it's Marcus, just deciding to really lean into the playmaker role, and he's so good at it. Rob, when he's out there, just being the vertical, lob threat, and also a great passer, like incredible, passer for someone that you didn't think was a good passer. And then just the Jays really kind of, I would say, self-actualizing a little bit, really kind of just coming into their own. And
pass playmaking wise, I'm credit to Scal. He called for it for like years. He was like, look, if they get to 12 assists between the two of them, the Celtics will be unstoppable. And I was like, yeah, cool stat, man. Going really deep here with assists. It turned out he was right. Jason passing on double teams, Jalen just being able to create, going at the basket.
And Jalen, I thought tonight, Jalen didn't do what he's been doing, which I've been so excited about. And maybe it was because Tatum wasn't out there. Maybe it's because the Bucks in general. He didn't do any of the hardened moves between his legs. And he didn't push his body on the Bucks like he's been doing to opponents, just establishing physical dominance early in the first quarter by attacking the basket. I want to know if that's just because he was like, all right, I'm alpha dog tonight, I got to do everything. No. I got to be a 3-level scorer, or was it because the Bucks are just so imposing?
I think part of it was Ime said, don't show them all the tricks of the trade tonight.
Yeah. And that's my how I will defend the Celtics not playing those two guys tonight. Say, look, they just didn't want to give away. They didn't want to give anything for the Bucks to have in their tape room.
Not the worst strategy. And so conversely, not to end it on the negative, but what's the one thing that gives you pause about this team?
They are just a little thin. They're prone to some streaky shooting, but again, I'm not going to be negative because there's nothing that concerns me, because the way that they played, at some point we have to start just believing what's in front of our eyes. Since the 23rd, they're the best team in basketball. You can make an argument for the Suns, but I think technically now they have the same record as the Suns, but they're right there. And you look at the top scores, we're all worried like, oh, how would they face off against Kyrie and Katie? I'm like, well, Kyrie doesn't just score 27 points in a vacuum. He has to go against the Celtics now. You could look at the top 10 scores in the NBA. The Celtics have held all of them, except I think Mitchell and Doncic, below their scoring averages. So it's not like you're just getting 27-point Kyrie and 30-point Durant every night if you're playing the Nets in the playoffs. Those guys have to fight for those points, and Lord knows the Nets aren't stopping the Celtics offense. So I'm not negative about anything. The Celtics should win the conference.
Okay. What's one award that you think the Celtics should, or one player that should win an award? We made the case this week on Celtics Post up about 4 of them. Brad for executive, Ime for coach, Jason on the all NBA first team, Marcus for DPOY. You can go off the board with a most improved. You could throw, Perk saying put Jalen on third team all NBA is a wild.
That's interesting.
Wild decision.
I would need to see the teams to see who kept off.
I can't even begin to fathom, but just you give Perk a ballot. Hope you're ready for the results.
Yeah, no, I think Tatum should be like, look, I listen to a lot of the NBA podcasts and almost all of them have Tatum on their first team, but only like one of them actually has a vote, the people that I've been listening to. So I do think that he might get screwed over by the Jokic and Embiid can be forwards thing.
It's terrible. I'm actually okay with that because they are 2 of the better players, but the NBA needs to just say there's no more positions.
Right, just the 5 best players, because that if that means you have to have like, what is it going to be? Gobert third team center? Ew.
Isn't that terrible?
Disgusting.
I'd rather have Rob as your third team center.
Right. No. So, all right. So I'll say, as far as awards go, I think Brad is an exec, and I don't know how this is voted for. I don't care about the executive of the year really at all, but I want so I don't know the history of the voting. But if it's just about the moves that they made going into this season, everyone's talking about the Memphis guy because they're having such a great season. He made 1 trade and they just brought back players that he did a great job acquiring last year and drafting, and is a great GM. But as far as this
Go
year,
back years ago, give John Hollinger the damn award.
yeah,
You know.
wow. I mean, the drafts that they had in the past, some of them weren't really good, but I don't blame Hollinger for that. So I think Brad, look, he made a lot of moves this summer. He traded Kemba for Al. He hired Ime. He signed
Rob and
re-signed Robin Smart to great deals, and he also he took flyers on Schroeder, Richardson, on Ennis Freedom, and he traded all those guys for better players at the deadline,
which is crazy.
And getting Tice and getting Derek White, the first year of a 4-year contract extension is like, and he just fits perfectly. And I don't want to hear people complaining about a pick swap 6 years in the future. If that's keeping you up at night, get a life.
You know what? And I'll admit, as I try to like always see things from both sides. At first, I was like, I don't know if I love that. Who knows where you are in 6 years? That's how the Brooklyn Nets got themselves in trouble. All that being said, windows don't guarantee to stay open. I think the Celtics window is open for 5 years, but you're one torn ACL, one like crazy season away from not having it. And so there is something to be said for going for it when you have it. And I think Brad recognized, I heard him say today, like in early January, he could, and I think he's actually trying to take the credit from Jalen and saying he could feel the energy shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brad at that moment was like, maybe
he knew Mercury was in retrograde.
Yeah. And now it's the rest of the Eastern Conference that's in retrograde as the Celtics come surging all the way up towards the top of the conference. So yeah, I'm actually on board with that. And I think executive of the year is voted on by other executives. So we'll see, how much people think Brad deserves credit if his peers, maybe that makes it more worthwhile because, and I could be wrong on that too, but
yeah, I had some people say that they think Morey would win it because of the heart, because he held firm and, ended up at the time, it was a great trade. I mean,
that's a hot
bleeping disaster right now, but,
maybe next year, kind of like Monty Williams is going to coach of the year this year because they should have given it to him last year and they messed that up and gave it to Tibbs. Now next year they'll be like, oh, Daryl Morey for getting Harden when Harden's out.
Yeah, and then signing him to a $250 million contract after he's quit on 2 teams in 13 months. It hurts.
At least he kept Maxey.
And I'm glad that I didn't buy the jerseys for my kids that I was gonna.
At least they have those Heat jerseys still, even if they're just photoshopped.
Screw the Heat culture. Kiss my butt.
All right. I need everybody to go like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. If you want to roast Max, down in the comments. Don't Photoshop his show to any other jerseys. Let's be respectful, please.
Just make them the cool jerseys if you're going to do it.
Yeah. If you put them in the Vice cities, I like all the Vice cities.
Nah, they peaked 2 years ago, I think.
True. And then they did the kind of color swappy one.
No.
This year with the ransom letters, I don't quite get that.
Yeah,
one.
the ransom letters, what are they trying to say?
Don't know. But it must be a Miami thing because, and I can at least give them credit. At least they're trying, unlike the Celtics who.
Look, no, the earned jerseys from 3 years ago when they won the teams that won the playoffs got an extra one, and they were white, green letters, and then the gold piping. To me, those are.
We did the St. Patrick's Day jerseys for Celtics Post Up a couple weeks ago.
St. Patty's jerseys, some of the best they've ever worn, and it's crazy that they don't bring them back. They go with these weird, crazy ones that 4 people like, which are all here at NBC Sports Boston. We love those jerseys, but there's ones that were universally loved that they don't bring back, and I don't know why.
So, well, that's a whole summer podcast. They never did the throwback court either. They were supposed to do a throwback court this year, going back to the 80s court. They never did it. So I have some questions. I hadn't even thought of that until that you just mentioned it, and I'd like to see some throwbacks.
Well, so I made fun of the Parquet Pride jerseys. I remember
literally designed this parquet.
A floor, and I was like, it's a jersey that's honoring a floor. And so I remember I took a picture of the rug, and I was like, we're going to release our rug respect jerseys. But the Sixers have some incredible jerseys that are honoring a stadium that was imploded a few years ago. The Spectrum, which is actually where Christian Laettner shot one in.
Really?
Yeah, it's a famous arena, and it's just cool. The colors are cool. We don't really care about the building.
Yeah.
And I think the parquet is just a cool pattern. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Maybe bring those back without the sleeves. I think that was the issue, right?
Yeah, the sleeves were bad. Anything Gray too has been, but we're going to bring back Sports Channel and Fox Sports New England jerseys from the past. And like, we should have a night. I told you, like, I think it would be phenomenal to get Gorman in all his throwback gear, Prism with the green, like Masters like jacket with the patches. All right. Anyway, we said we were out of here. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk podcast.